The Kansas City Chiefs add more wide receiver depth to the roster as they bring back a familiar face in Justin Watson. We'll discuss his contract and what type of role he can provide in 2023. But before we do get into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chiefs related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. I swear, a day after I say that the Kansas City Chiefs won't probably make no signings until after the draft and see what holes they have and what they couldn't address during the draft period, look how wrong I was when now the Kansas City Chiefs bring back Justin Watson. It is on a 2-year deal worth up to $6 million. 1.5 of that is guaranteed. Now, this can go one or two ways for Chiefs Kingdom. Honestly, to me, I think it's great added wide receiver depth with the receiver who is familiar with the roster. Now, Justin Watson had his ups and downs last year, definitely in the Chiefs Kingdom perspective where he made his splash plays early on. But then when you got later in the season, people were wondering, how come Justin Watson is getting more snaps than Sky Moore and he is on the field way too much? And to that, I can agree. I was like, Sky Moore needs to be on the field more than Justin Watson. I think if we roll into 2023 and Justin Watson's role is just strictly a wide receiver number 6, where he can make that occasional splash play that we saw last year, I think that has huge upside to it. And Justin Watson did show last year he can be a playmaker in this offense. Now, is he a wide receiver number 2, a wide receiver 3? Not by any stretch of the imagination. But we saw in the AFC Championship game and we saw in the Super Bowl that once that Kansas City Chiefs wide receiving core got so slim where it was Marcus Kemp out there making plays for them, something needed to be addressed this offseason. And I like what Brett Veach is doing. Now, it may not be a fan favorite. It may not be the sexy pick that Chiefs Kingdom is hoping for, a DeAndre Hopkins, you name it, one of those elite wide receivers. But the depth and the core that's going to be moving in 23 is what's going to get them back into repeat in the Super Bowl. Because if you don't have that depth, then you might not have a team, because we all know once it comes to that December and January time, it's almost nearly impossible to avoid injuries. The Kansas City Chiefs even get it. We see it every year. But you need to make sure that next man up mentality, that your next player up can produce and make plays on the football field. And it's something that Justin Watson has shown. And I'm excited to see him back in this offense and to see another year under Coach Reed and to see how much of a grasp he gets on this playbook. And another thing I want to hold the testament to as well is he provides also a spark in the special teams as well, where the Chiefs struggled throughout the year. Now, yes, when it came playoff time, they shined their brightest, but I am not going to forget the inconsistencies that this special teams had throughout 2022, and it's something that you best believe Dave Toub wants to crack down. So if they can bring more special team depth as well, that's something Justin Watson is very, very valuable. But I don't just want to focus on Justin Watson, because they also had a sneaky signing last week that we discussed in Richie James Jr., where he's another guy where a lot of people don't know him, but he had production last year. Over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. Just imagine what he can do in a Patrick Mahomes offense if given the chance. He's another one too. Is he going to be a wide receiver number 2, a wide receiver 1? No. And you shouldn't put those expectations on him. But if you view him as maybe a wide receiver number 4 at tops, wide receiver 4 or 5, he's going to make more plays than you anticipate, and you might hear his name more often than what people would assume. And people will go, week 2, watch, Richie James might get a touchdown. And they'll be like, man, Patrick Mahomes just makes a star out of anyone. And I don't want to say Patrick Mahomes does that, but he brings the best out of anyone's abilities in the wide receiving room. That's what makes me feel more comfortable. And people will say, this is the weakest wide receiving room the Kansas City Chiefs had, even weaker than last year. And I don't agree with that whatsoever, because the potential, even though the floor is low right now, the potential is sky high. You got Kadarius Toney, who I believe, if healthy, which I'm fully banking on, you can't tell me he can't be a wide receiver number 1. The talent is fully there. And then Sky Moore, he's going into year 2. And I believe if anyone's going to take the biggest leap, it's going to be him. And then you still got MVS on this roster. Everyone has high hopes and praises for Justin Ross, and now you bring in guys like Richie James and Justin Watson. And don't forget, your real wide receiver number one is Travis Kelce. And then we talked a little bit about the tight ends yesterday with Jody Fortson and Noah Gray, who have all the potential in the world and could take that next big leap. I'm excited for the signing for Justin Watson because, like I mentioned, it was inconsistent, but you saw the dude can make plays. Another year in this offense, and then it's a 2-year deal too, so he can just keep grasping, and you got that depth. Maybe he takes on, I don't want to say a bigger role because I don't want to see him with a bigger role, but see him produce in the plays more than what he didn't last year. More consistency. That'd be so exciting to see. And you got a guy like Richie James where I don't expect huge out of him, but I do expect playmaking where we'll be like, oh, damn, Richie James is out here making plays. And that's something to see with this wide receiving core is where they're not going to be big name players, but they will make plays for you on Sunday. And now we're going to transition this to the draft. Because as we mentioned yesterday with the tight ends and wide receivers, I don't think this move of Justin Watson affects Kansas City Chiefs draft strategy whatsoever. Now, if they want to focus on wide receiver early on, and specifically in round one, a Justin Watson, Richie James signing is not going to affect that. Now, if they have guys that are interested in second, third, fourth round, again, this signing is not going to affect any of that. Once Brett Veach hones in on someone, he's going to try his best to get that guy, whether it be a Jackson Smith and Jigba, a Jordan Addison, a fan favorite in Quentin Johnston, which I don't know why, but Chiefs Kingdom loves him, or Zay Flowers. If Brett Veach, if Coach Reed falls in love with one of those guys, he's going to try to get them. And that's what's going to be so exciting about draft night. I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go wide receiver in round one. Honestly, if I was to look at it and what I mentioned before, I would focus maybe on a defensive tackle or offensive lineman because the value in round 2 and 3, even though it's very good for those positions, I think you get a better bang for your buck in the wide receiver position because I feel like you can get more stars and you don't have to invest in too much. Where I believe, and I think, and I might be the only one, which is crazy, and I just said a lot of words at once, but a lot of people aren't focusing on the defensive tackle as the biggest hole on this roster, which is crazy to me. The fact that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have a defensive tackle signed under 2024, but we want to focus on wide receivers, offensive linemen, pass rushers. I get it, their needs, but to say a defensive tackle isn't up there, maybe we ain't thinking the same. But again, it's going to be interesting to see how the Kansas City Chiefs attack this draft and what kind of strategy they approach. But if they want to focus on wide receiver in round one, a signing like Justin Watson won't affect that, and neither will Richie James. I do believe they will have a role in this offense, and I do believe they will be productive. But don't expect 500 yards, and don't expect 1,000 yards, because you're smoking that good stuff that, hey, I might need to be on to see what kind of things Mahomes could take to the next level. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I am going to sign off. I wanted to give you a quick video on this signing, and I wanted to get your input on how you feel about this Justin Watson coming back to Kansas City. I know there's going to be a lot in different feelings. And initially, I was there with you, but I think the biggest thing for me with this wide receiver room wasn't the star talent. It was, I need depth in this room. I don't need a repeat of the AFC Championship game where I have Marcus Kemp running downfield trying to make plays, and your number one wide receiver was MVS. We need that depth. So I love the addition with depth with Richie James, with Justin Watson, and I think they will be key contributors into 2023. But I know some of you will feel different. So let's discuss. Let's have fun in the comments down below. But before I do take off, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please give me that big thumbs up. Y'all take care. Peace.